Okay. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order on Tuesday, January 27th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber, which has been duly noticed in 2 places, including the city's website, in accordance with the requirements of RSA 91A. The prayer will be offered this evening by City Clerk Dan Healy, and the pledge will be offered by Alderman Klee.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, please.
Alderman Clemmons.
Here.
Alderman Klee.
Here.
Alderman Chess.
Here.
Alderwoman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Tebow.
Here.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Gregg.
Here.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Sullivan. Alderman Senate.
Here.
Alderman Johnson.
Present.
Alderwoman Kelly. Alderman Morgan.
Here, I'm joined by Zoom. I'm alone, and it's due to my daughter being sick.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
13 present, 2 absent.
Alderman Sullivan is on travel. Alderwoman Kelly is sick. Is that everybody? I think so. Also joining us this evening is Mayor Jim Donchis and Corporation Counsel Steve Bolton. Mayor, did you wish to address the board this evening?
Yes, Madam President. First, I wanted to address the recent storm that we had over the last couple of days and say that the Public Works, Lisa Foto and her crew did a great job on this immense storm. You know, before this particular storm, there had already been 15 so-called snow incidents to which Public Works responded. Those would include sleet and rain, ice and others, and snow. But they'd already responded 15 times, which is unusually high for this time of year. And now they had a 36-hour storm, 18 inches or so of snow, and people were out there long hours. And then after the storm was finished last night, people were out today clearing the sidewalks adjacent to schools and elsewhere. And again, they did a great job, and I think they should be congratulated for that. Madam President, I also wanted to speak to an item that is on the agenda tonight, which is the approval of the mural for the Riverfront project, the Renaissance Park mural. Some questions came up at the Finance Committee, which did approve this unanimously, but regarding what exactly the TIF is. So I thought I would address that. The tax increment financing districts are authorized by the New Hampshire legislature, by New Hampshire law, and the point of those is to use public money to stimulate private development. Specifically, once a district is declared to be a tax increment financing district, then any improvements, increases in property values that occur within the district, the increased taxes based upon those improvements or increased value is devoted to the TIF, taxing to the district to make public improvements, which in turn are designed to stimulate additional private investment. So in this particular instance, we began looking at the riverfront in 2016 when I attended a Mayor's Institute of City Design, which is a cooperative venture between the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the National Endowment for the Arts. And I presented a design issue, which was the riverfront as well as the Tree Street area. There were 4 other cities there, and each of these design issues is addressed in turn by a group of very eminent, really, landscape architects and city planners. And I remember Mr. Benepe, who was the Parks Commissioner in New York under Bloomberg, when they built the Brooklyn Park along the Brooklyn waterfront. He was one of the people there, but there were others who were very, very good. In any event, they recommended we focus more on the riverfront than we had. That was followed by a riverfront master plan, which was authorized by the Board of Aldermen and completed in August 2017. That is on the city website, and it sketched out in concept the improvements that could be made along the riverfront, both west of the Main Street Bridge and east. Then in March of 2018, the Board of Aldermen voted to create this tax increment financing district, in order to pay for, with increases in value within that district, to pay for the riverfront improvements. And under the terms of that tax increment financing district, as I said, the increases in value are devoted to the riverfront improvements. The next step was really to put this concept of the riverfront development master plan into more concrete form. So RFPs were put out, and design firms were engaged, selected and engaged, and they developed the detailed plan, which in turn was implemented as you see it now. Now, in terms of the money that comes into the district, or the money that's been committed, there are basically 2 buckets, so to speak. First is the money that is used to pay for the bond, the borrowed money that was, in other words, the city borrowed money to make these improvements, and the revenue from into the tax increment financing district pays for the annual obligation on those bonds. And then there's a little bit left over for the maintenance, the annual maintenance of the area. That money cannot be spent. It's committed to the district. It cannot be spent for other purposes. Now, the mural has been in part of the planning for quite some time, and we formed a committee, or Liz Hannum had a lot to do with that, formed a committee to first solicit mural, and there's this huge wall. It's many, many square feet. I think it's a couple 100 feet long. Solicited proposals. Well, first formed the committee, which consisted of Eric Druhart and Loretta Murray from the Club Richelieu, who were the people who donated the money to create the sculpture of the French mill worker, female mill worker. In addition to them, there was Clock Tower resident Lorraine Prost, and then there were 2 members of the Arts Commission, the City Arts Commission, Laura Spiri-Savet and Judy Carlson, and I believe Lori is here tonight. And finally, Tom Lopez as a member of the Board of Aldermen. They reviewed the proposals. There were quite a few, and narrowed it down to 3, I think, and then did interviews of those 3 and selected this particular mural artist. And I get into all this just to show that there's been a lot has been devoted to bringing this project forward, and specifically the mural. So I hope that you will follow the recommendation of the Finance Committee, and rather than, a blank canvas, blank wall, so to speak, that we complete the project or nearly, there are a few other little things that need to be done, but substantially complete the project with the mural. And Ms. Spiros-Yvette spoke to this at the Finance Committee and may speak to it tonight. When she did speak, I was very impressed by her knowledge and commitment to this project. And I'd like to thank all those that served on the committee. In any event, the point of all this is I hope you will, under the terms of the TIF, the Board of Aldermen has to approve expenditures, not just the Finance Committee, so that's why it's before you tonight. And I hope you will follow the recommendation of the Finance Committee and approve it. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. Response to the remarks by the mayor. Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Johnson.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that this was a horrible storm, and I want to thank DPW and the crew for being out there for so many hours. Without them, our roads wouldn't be opened, and it was really a horrible storm because I worked last night, and I was out on Broad Street in the middle of the storm again, the second round of it. And I also want to thank our fire and rescue because I was on Countryside Road today, and I was watching them dig out a fire hydrant, and I rolled down my window and I screamed out to them, "Thank you for everything you do for us." And so I would like to thank them for all the hours that they put in, and also the police to keep us safe in the city during these horrible storms that we have. And we haven't had one like this in years. So, thank you.
Anyone else? All set? Recognition period.
Honoring Laurie Wilshire, longest-serving alderman.
I'll recognize Alderman Tebow.
Hi, thank you, Ms. President. I was doing some research a few years ago on Nashua government, and I was looking up just the history of it and the aldermanic chamber, and we used to have a city council as well, so imagine how big the government was then in Nashua when we had both. And I came to the determination that during President Wilshire's term that she would become the longest-serving alderwoman, alderman of all time in Nashua. So I thought it fitting that we do some form of recognition, whether it be a resolution or a proclamation, and the mayor has done up this proclamation, so I'm going to read it. Recognizing Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire's decades of leadership. Whereas Laurie Wilshire first began her service in the city of Nashua as alderman for Ward 7 in 1998, winning re-election for 3 consecutive terms while consistently advocating for the residents of her ward and the city as a whole. After a brief electoral defeat in the 2006 term, Laurie returned to public service with renewed dedication, serving as an at-large alderman from 2008 to 2011 and continuing through successive 4-year terms from 2012 to the present. And whereas Laurie's peers recognized her leadership, integrity, and experience by electing her vice president of the Board of Aldermen during the terms of 2012 to 2013 and 2016 to 2017, in 2018, Laurie again served as vice president and through the confidence of the board, ascended to the office of president of the Board of Aldermen after the untimely passing of President Brian S. McCarthy. And whereas Laurie Wilshire has served continuously as president of the Board of Aldermen since November 13th, 2018, providing steady leadership, fostering collaboration, and updating the board's legislative responsibilities with professionalism and respect throughout her tenure. Laurie has exemplified dedication to democratic governance, accountability, and the well-being of the citizens she serves. And from thereforth, Jim Donchis, Mayor of the City of Nashua, New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim on behalf of a grateful city and the Board of Aldermen that this recognition stands as an expression of appreciation for Laurie Wilshire's past, present, and continuing service as President of the Board of Aldermen and for her lasting contributions to the governance and progress of the city, signed by Jim Donchis, Mayor, City of Nashua, New Hampshire.
humbled and honored. I'm sorry. I can't believe this. I love this city. I love working with all the city staff, all of you people, all of the prior boards, prior mayors. But I really am humbled. Thank you so very much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Alderman Tebow. And thank you to all of you. Thank you. Reading minutes of previous meetings.
None.
Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
None.
Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. We have one person, Lawrence Spira-Savet.
Good evening, Laurie Spira-Savet, 39 Coburn Ave in Nashua. I'm a member of the Nashua Arts Commission, and I chaired the committee that selected the muralist for the Riverfront project. Thank you very, very much, Mayor Donches, for the description earlier. As Mayor Donches mentioned, we had a broadly representative committee that selected the artist for the mural, and our selection process, I think, was very robust. We had 21 artists that submitted to produce the mural, and the committee reviewed all of those submissions, evaluated them against set criteria, and from that group we selected 3 finalists. Those 3 finalists were invited to produce renderings of the mural, and the committee met once those were produced and reviewed them in detail. The committee unanimously selected Jay Graham, and you saw his materials, I think, in your packet for this meeting. The mural is beautifully and expertly done. It has imagery that reflects Nashua's history, including our French-Canadian heritage, as well as imagery that honors our military veterans. The artist we selected also has some remarkable plans for community engagement. For example, he plans to have a block printing workshop for youth and to incorporate the designs that the kids produce into the mural itself, so they'll be able to see their designs in the mural for years to come. As Mayor Don just mentioned, the source of the funding can only be used for the Riverwalk Capital Project, not for maintenance or operations. Thank you very much for taking the time to review the project, and we hope that you'll vote to approve it.
Thank you. Communications requiring final approval.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donches regarding multi-year contract award, postage machine lease.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion to accept, place on file, and approve a 5-year lease and maintenance agreement with Pitney Bowes for a new postage meter at the National Public Library in the amount not to exceed $4,571.40. Funding will be through Department 179 Library Fund, General Fund /55, other services. By roll call, please.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Chuss.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Gregg.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
13 yeas, 0 nays.
that motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donches regarding tax increment finance development program Renaissance Park Art Mural.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes, I'd like to propose the motion to accept and place on file and award a contract to J. Graham Studios, LLC, to paint a 200 by 20 feet tall mural along the Water Street and Renaissance Park in the amount not to exceed $105,000. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund, Riverfront TIF Fund, 70 Project Contingency. by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Alderman Lopez.
Yep, I just wanted to comment, because I was mentioned as being on the committee. It was mentioned publicly that the committee unanimously adopted this particular mural. I was not able to attend the last meeting because at the time, the committee was really trying to approve this mural and then have it executed before the park was opened for the holiday stroll. So I was a little skeptical at the time that it could be done because the weather's getting colder, it's unpredictable. But I also didn't want to stand in the way of it, so where the last couple of meetings to assess and interview the artists, my schedule might have precluded I don't want to be dramatic, basically. I'm an alderman, I want to be there as a support, but I don't want to make it around me. So I wasn't present for the final votes. When the artists were being selected and narrowed down to the final 3, we did unanimously elect them, but we used ranked choice voting. The artist particularly that was chosen has been in my top 3, personally, looking at the different candidates. But I did place a higher premium on local artists, Positive Street Art, and then another group of artists that applied that I think were located on West Hollis. I want to thank Director Hannum for inviting me onto the committee because I wasn't originally part of it, and I think it was pointed out at some point that I had worked on that mural and in that park, the previous mural, for quite a while. Back in 2015, I think it was, we restored the mural through Positive Street Art that was existing there. It had been done back when I was at Rivier University in like 2003 or 4. And unfortunately, they hadn't used exterior paint. They used some exterior paint, but then they used brushes and studio paint. So a lot of the figures weren't fully visible or they were ghostly, and it hadn't really been maintained. So Positive Street Art, we used all exterior latex, all exterior spray paints. We sort of had to reimagine it because the original conception couldn't really be duplicated. And I think it added a lot to the park, and it really revitalized the park. Great American Downtown started doing the farmers markets there, and then somebody backed into the mural and like scraped a whole chunk of it off. So as solid as it was, it couldn't really endure that. At the same time, we continued working down the rest of the park, with the Richelieu Club, was the Rue de Richelieu, Rue de Renaissance, which is the street of remembrance or revival. And the idea was storefronts that were done around life size that could be used as an interactive display. People could walk up to a painted depiction of Crosby's Bakery, for example, and it was about life size. They could sit down in a chair that was outside. We had a succession of very talented artists painting those panels over the next couple of years. We worked to reproduce historic French-owned businesses over the years and kind of show the impact in Nashua of French culture. So I think it was very important that we continue that tradition and that we do continue with the mural in that public space. I appreciate that the mayor has been investing a lot into that space, particularly as Ward 4 alderman. I think having more engaging downtown spaces solves a lot of challenges that event organizers and community planners try to solve with other spaces. So I think the Riverfront project has ultimately come out very, very well, at least in that area. And I do think that it's important to have a mural there. And I think that the artist who was selected is very, very capable and qualified. I still think the price tag is very high. I did the whole thing for like over 10 years on under $5,000. And now we're going to get $100,000 worth of project. I will say that it's extremely important to remember artists are business people too, and they have to eat. So feeding them and compensating them and giving them a reasonable amount of reimbursement for their skill, their time, and their effort not only recognizes arts, it encourages other artists in the city, but it also produces a very high quality product. I think one of the best and most visible murals downtown is the Nostalgia mural that's over on the side of what used to be Why Not and is now downtown next to Main Street United Methodist. Another one is the Gratitude mural right over here. Those are murals that Positive Street Art did that are iconic and lasting. There are other murals, and this was brought up in the committee, that haven't been maintained or even are in very difficult spaces. I think one of the most prominently cited one in that meeting was the Veterans Mural, which I have to point out is on the side of a foundry, one of the only foundries in New England. So the temperature of the wall changes drastically because there's very high temperatures inside. So I don't know that there's a material that can be preserved both for exterior New England weather and then the heat that's on the other side of it. But I do think that it's important to note that we have some very, very capable artists here in Nashua. They are very, very talented, and I hope the city is planning to continue supporting our local arts. I welcome artists from other places, and I hope there's a lot of energy that comes from this project that stirs up the passion that we have and the love for our heritage. But I think it's very important to recognize local artists as well. Thank you.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. Alderman Lopez alluded to some of the points that I wanted to make, but in particular, a lot of the concerns that I've been hearing from my constituents when the topic of the mural comes up, because people are aware of it. The news outlets that we do have in the city now are covering it. It is a significant price tag for an investment in a very Nashua-centric rebuilding of a space in our downtown. And there's a lot of concern that for that price tag, we're, not to put a nasty word on it, but we're outsourcing. And I tend to agree with those concerns because while I've been following this since the last term and, where it got stalled and rejected in the Finance Committee in the previous term, and then going to the Finance Committee this term, I understand the mechanics around it, and that was the discussion. I understand the mechanics of not wanting to leave a blank space in the downtown that could be susceptible to vandalism. I understand the TIF financing and why we can't use that $105,000 for something other than a capital improvement project. But outside the mechanics of it, once this space is revitalized and handed back over to the city of Nashua, it belongs to the people of Nashua, and there's a disconnect that people are feeling with that price tag. And this mural, which looks aesthetically very pleasing, I've seen the mock-ups in it, and it's going to be very pleasing once it's done. No rejection of that or the art or the process that went into it. But I think people want that local touch, and I think there's a little bit of disappointment that for that price tag, knowing how municipalities around us handle the approach of public art, there was a very contested one just a couple of months ago on a reclaimed wall in Manchester where school children had put up a mural, and I think people just were looking for something more than that. We didn't really know what the selection was going to be until the selection was made. We only sort of kind of know who the candidates were. So, I hope for future investments like this, where it's such a big central focal project, we could reinvest that money back in our local artists. Thank you.
Alderman Gregg.
Thank you. I wanted to address the fact that, of course I came into this late and really we just had to look at, okay, we have this money, this is what it can be spent on. I am actually really relieved to hear that we are going to have children's artwork as incorporated in a part of that. So I think that there is part of this, even this artist that might not be from here, maybe he's come here and the same thing when I moved here. There's something about this place that gets in you. So, to have the kids be a part of that mural too, we are actually, I want to say that we are putting, that next generation in there so they can go back and see that. I agree, it's a lot of money on this, but this is something that's already rolling with this. And so I think that the artist is really honoring Nashua by putting those pieces in there of the kids.
Alderman Chess.
I just want to touch base on, well, first of all, thanks to Trish for explaining a bit about TIFs to me beforehand, and for the mayor for talking about as well at the beginning of this meeting. But I agree with a couple of other people saying the first I saw this previously, I was very concerned with the amount, especially because so many people have said that we're spending too much on downtown, and like, what about us not in downtown? And regardless of my opinions of the TIFs and things that are be gone, but given the money allocation and the need for this money to be spent in a certain way, it's not money that we can just get back to spend on other projects that we might view as more important. And I just think that's just an important thing to mention, because again, that's exactly my first thought, is like, I'd rather go spend this on something that we can go actually help people as opposed to make a pretty painting. It's not to minimize it, but just in the scale of helping people who are potentially homeless or this or that, it's not necessarily high on the priority list, but again, based on the conditions of TIFs and such, it makes a lot more sense based on that confine of not being able to have that accessible for those potential greater purposes.
Alderman Clee, and then Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. I can't disagree with anything that's been said here. The truth is, we always like to see local first. I also want to point out that while this is a large price tag, I think it's the first time that we've made sure that we've incorporated care for it. I appreciate my colleague from Ward 4, saying that the local artists know to use the outdoor paints and so on. Within this one, and I think, Madam President, you pointed out that it had been misstated, but that the contract actually says that there's a couple of coats of this coat that is anti-graffiti, which is extremely important. Truthfully, I think my colleague from Ward 4 has said that artists respect artists, and this artwork tends not to be graffitied. It was brought up, well, what about the trash cans? Well, the trash cans weren't art. They were just an AI kind of thing. We didn't choose it. It's just something that happened. That was, I think, part of all the controversy from social media, so I'm going to put that kind of aside. But the truth is that this contract went a little bit deeper. These people do have to eat. These people do have to do a good job. I think that maybe we would have saved money if we did go with a local artist, and it would be nice to say that they've done beautiful work throughout the city and so on. But this also has that different component of the children's aspect of it, and that engages the community. But I'm going to say, just on the side, I believe that Positive Street Art, when we were doing the barriers, had also engaged some of the locals too. So they have done it, and I want to give them kudos for that. But this particular one, the contract does specifically state that. So for that reason, I will be supporting this. I hope in the future we do go more local, but I think this is a long time coming. Leaving it gray, we're basically just putting up big signs, please tag this. And it's going to make the park not look quite as good. So thank you.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. So, I mean, being, I guess, a fourth-generation French-Canadian of Nashua, it's nice to see a little area that represents my history, right? So I'm a little partial to it in that way. To be upfront, I'm not a big mural guy generally, but I think they do mean a lot to a lot of people, and it does brighten up, and it gives character to an area of the city. I love the Tremont Hotel one over behind Martha's, because that used to be a giant hotel there, right? And it's kind of neat to see that all in painting form in a mural. And so I think it is important that we do things like this. I tend to think that because it's art and because we have a couple of local artists, especially Positive Street Art, who does a lot of the work in the city and has had a great reputation here. I'm a big fan of Positive Street Art. I think the outsourcing piece, is it just because it's art? Because we outsource a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of the building stuff we do in the city is outsourced. I mean, not everybody lives in Nashua, and we don't always have a place in Nashua. We may not have a place in Nashua that does a cheaper job, not cheaper, but a less expensive job on something. So we might have to go outside the city, or in some cases, we just don't have something in Nashua that does whatever we need in the city. So I'm not sure why we don't always demand that. I mean, Tim Cummings is outsourced. He doesn't live in Nashua, right? So, I mean, it is what it is in that case. I don't think that may be the reason. I think the price tag is the reason that's a little scary. But I look at it as because it's a TIF fund, this is what we should be using it for. It should be used for this. We can't give it back to we can't just take that $100,000 and go, here, take this money and put it back in your taxes, and then you get a tax break on that $100,000. It just doesn't work that way. So I think it's a worthwhile expenditure. It'll really finish that revitalization, or almost finish it. And so I think it's a worthy dollar amount to spend on this particular project. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Thank you very much. If I can just kind of recap here a little bit. So this TIF money is borrowed money, am I correct?
Yes, it is, yes. This is part of the capital, this is the part of the capital expenditure.
Okay, so on the capital expenditure, so we're going to be paying this back on that $105,000, right? And,
Well, we're borrowing the money, so it
Yep.
either goes to this or some other part of something else related to the TIF district.
okay, because I've kind of followed this even before I got elected, the price tag on the whole riverfront walk. And I remember when that statue was first put up, I believe it was Georgie Hippoff that started the whole thing under Mayor Bernie Streeter, I believe. And it was very lovely because it was a memorial to our French Canadian and everybody who came here from Canada. I can't support this at this cost. I really can't. I heard from a lot of constituents that weren't my constituents during the election. And, you know, we all sit here and we talk about we can't use the money for anything else. But it all comes back to what about us? We're outside of downtown. And I just have this hard problem with, you know, this $105,000. I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful mural of the history of Nashua. But, you know, I sat at the Finance Committee meeting and I asked some questions and I listened to the whole discussion. And I don't know, I think $105,000 for a mural is a lot of money. And probably people are not going to be happy with my stance on this. But it doesn't matter because if there's 13 of us here, it's going to be 12 against 1. But I'm just going to give my opinion on how I feel because we all have a seat at this table and, you know, this is my opinion. Thank you.
Alderman Clay and then Alderman Chess.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to clarify, for those that are listening, I understand that the alderman understands that, but this money, although there is a bond for this riverfront project, the money it's not coming out of the general fund to pay off this bond. It's coming out of the TIF fund, which are monies that are put aside for that particular district. So as was kind of stated, we can't take that $105,000 and use it anywhere else. We have to use it within the TIF. And as I said, I understand that the alderman understands that, but I don't think necessarily the people listening are going to grasp that. So whether we use the $105,000 for this mural, and I don't disagree that it's expensive, we can only use it within that district. We can't use it anywhere else. So just for those that are listening, I want them to understand that this money cannot be. So the comment of, you know, it's okay there, but what about us in whatever ward, Ward 3 or whatever, it can't go there. Well, yeah, it can, because Riverfront's partially Ward 3, but it can't go to it can't go to Greeley Park, it can't go to anywhere else. So thank you.
Alderman Chess.
Apologies if this is not the venue for this, but based on Paula's question, based on my previous conversations, my understanding of it is basically if we did not spend this $100,000, that would not end up being, you know, subtracted from our tax bills at all. It doesn't work in that way, in which case, like, that's how I was thinking about it, and I would agree with you if that 100,000, even if it's 0.1%, whatever it is on the tax bill, I would tend to agree with you. The way it was explained to me is that wouldn't happen based on how the functionality of the TIF is. So I guess this is less of a comment and more of an open question to other aldermen. For my understanding, that's how it was explained to me. But again, I appreciate, Paula, you bringing it up again. And just again, for my understanding, because it's a fair point. If that could be handed back into the pockets of people, that's a good thing to do. But my understanding is it doesn't work that way.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, Alderman Chess, you're correct. Any money that is spent on the TIF or from the TIF bond, the only way that TIF bond is paid back is through taxes that are raised through the TIF district. So it doesn't affect the rest of the city.
Thank you.
Alderman Lopez.
So my comments are primarily about the process. And I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I have, I think, a question through the president to the mayor. There are other projects right there that do need to be done, and those would, I think, come out of taxpayer rolls. We reversed Water Street, but we never actually did it. I think like 2 years ago, we went through a whole plan where we're going to repaint it and redirect it, re-sign it, and all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that we have to do. I think we're done with the ADA ramp on the other side because that bridge just kept having to get redone. But now there's another bridge that we're in the middle of working on behind Clock Tower. So there are other projects. So I feel like it's worth pointing out that if those other projects are things that also need TIF money, in a way, it does come out of taxpayer money. If those projects, if there isn't enough TIF money in the amount that is earned in the TIF district, then those costs could get passed on. But the reason I wanted to ask through the mayor is, are those projects incoming? Because I think the Water Street one I've asked a couple of times, and there were some issues with like structural issues or something, and I don't think that's on the horizon anymore. Is that accurate?
Well, the first question has to do with Water Street. So there is sufficient money in the TIF district, it's my recollection, to do the redirection of the travel and the improvements on the surface of Water Street. The delay has been caused by the fact that there are also problems unrelated to the TIF project, which are that the Water Street ramp may need at some point to be, the structure underneath it may need to be, the bridge structure may need to be improved or upgraded, similar to some other bridge projects. So it's possible we'll be able to get some bridge money to do that, but I think that has been the delay. In terms of spending, I get this question sometimes I do these periodic coffees. You know, we spend so much money downtown. Alderman Johnson has raised it, Alderman Chess. People forget, what's the biggest project we're doing? Paving the streets, $75 million. That's not spent downtown, a little tiny bit downtown, but that is a neighborhood project all over the city. That is the biggest project. And the other one you could mention is the McCarthy School. $123 million.
That's the whole middle school project, not just McCarthy.
It's what?
McCarthy was only 83.
We improved across, McCarthy was 83, but we also made improvements to Pennachuck and Fairgrounds. Neighborhood projects, $123 million. So, yes, these downtown projects are visible, and people see them and they think about them, but if you really look at where the money is being spent, there's a lot more money being spent outside the downtown than in the downtown. That's at least my point of view.
Alderman Lopez.
So I just want to ask the question, and I'm sure there would be a plan for this. If we did have to do changes to the structure underneath the Water Street ramp, that is what the mural is being painted on, so that would be preserved, presumably?
Yes. We need to find out, yes. I mean, I think we need to look at the ramp issue in a little more detail, but the point that we should have a clear answer on that before we embark on the mural is probably a good one, yes.
Just in case the $100,000.
Yes, we don't want to tear down the mural
Okay.
in 6 months. Yes, that's correct.
Anyone else? Alderman Johnson.
Yes, I'm just going to elaborate on Alderman Lopez. Why wouldn't we be looking at the structure before we're jumping in to put the mural up? Because here's the thing, if you start putting the mural up and then we have a structure problem, are we wasting our money? You know, I mean, things come up after discussion starts, And I have to thank Alderman Lopez for bringing this up. And May, I just want to say one other thing to you. You know, when you talk about outside the city, yeah, our roads have to be repaved, yes, they do, and that's outside the city because we have so much traffic. And I've talked all along about the West Hollis Street corridor. We talked about that last year in your town hall meeting. And so, you know, we all have little things that we have to do in our wards. We've all been elected to represent our wards. And I'm concerned even more now with what Alderman Lopez brought up. And I hope everybody will think about that too, because you can't put a mural up if you have to take a look at your ramp. And there might needs to be construction work. So we don't want to overburden anybody and spend money twice, you know? Let's do it right the first time than spending more money the second time. Thank you.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. So I guess this question's probably through you to the mayor or anybody that wants to answer it, I guess. So if we decide today, we decide not to vote for this mural, that wall will just be blank for eternity. Is that kind of, at this point? Not eternity, but it's obviously going to, if it gets voted down, I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
Maybe not eternity, but maybe our lifetimes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Just to clarify.
No. Yes, I'm
Sorry.
kidding, I'm totally kidding.
So in this building, we have a mural that we moved from somewhere else, so it wasn't necessarily my intention to say, don't do it, because it might be. My intention was to say, plan for it. I kind of jokingly said you could make it a mosaic, but you can. There's like brickwork over there, so as long as we plan for it, we can figure out what to do about it. I just want to make sure we're keeping both projects in mind, so that one side isn't doing something while the other side is doing it too.
Alderman Chess.
Apologies. I was just hoping, could someone touch on what Alderman Johnson was saying of, are we concerned that the wall might need to be torn down in 6 months, a year for infrastructure? Or is that not something that's a problem?
I don't believe that it would need to be, but if we ask that question again and determine that we needed to tear down the wall, we wouldn't go forward with the mural. But it is not even now clear if and when these bridge repairs need to be done. But I can certainly investigate again the issue of were those repairs to go forward, what would happen to this wall?
Okay, so it's, in theory, we could, prior to, if approving the mural today, we can ensure the structural soundness and the fact that the mural wouldn't get torn down before it actually occurred?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Alderman Johnson.
Thank you. Well, if you want to approve it, why don't you approve it contingent upon taking a look at the ramp? You can do that. This way it ensures that if any work has to be done, it gets done prior to doing the mural. That's just my thought, a suggestion. Thank you.
Alderman Gregg.
So we're just approving awarding the contract. So we're not saying, go do this right now. We're saying that we're awarding this part of the contract. So I think because the structural things have been brought up, we will obviously look into that. It's not going to start immediately, but this is literally just, we're approving the contract and the funding right now for the mural. Correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, seeing no one, the motion before us is to award, excuse me, to award the contract to, sorry, to J. Graham Studios. By roll call. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Alderman Clemens.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Chuss.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Gregg.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
No.
Alderman Johnson.
No.
Alderman Morgan.
No.
Alderman Lopez.
No.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
9 yeas, 4 nays.
and that motion carries. Petitions,
None.
nominations, appointments, and elections.
Joint convention with Library Board of Trustees.
There being no objection, I'll declare that the Board of Aldermen meet in joint convention with the Board of Library Trustees for the purpose of electing one trustee and call for a nomination.
Hi there, Linda LaFlamme. I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees, and it is my honor to nominate Patricia Dresner for our open seat. She brings experience in the world of finance, as well as a massive go-getter spirit, organizing volunteers and doing fundraising for a wide variety of youth organizations. She is determined to learn all she can, not afraid of any research projects, no matter what the topic, which I think, given our upcoming renovations and hopefully addition, will be a very valuable skill to the board. So there you have it.
There being no objection, I will close the nominations. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Clemmons.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Clee.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Chuss.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderwoman Smith.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Tebow.
Patricia A. Dresner.
Alderman O'Brien.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Gregg.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Dowd.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Senate.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Johnson.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Morgan.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Lopez.
Patricia Dresner.
Alderman Wilshire.
Patricia Dresner.
Mayor Donchis.
Patricia Dresner.
Trustee Jaquith. Trustee Kane.
Patricia Dresner.
Trustee Kennedy.
Patricia Dresner.
Trustee Kuna Paridi. Trustee LaFlamme.
Patricia Dresner.
Trustee Pincinel.
He's died.
President Wilshire.
You don't get 2 votes.
I already voted once. Excuse me.
18 yeas, 0 nays.
And that motion carries. Would you mind coming forward to take the oath of office, please? Come right up to the attorney, right over here.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Nashua Public Library, according to the best of your abilities and agreeably to the rules and regulations of the city charter and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Appointments by the mayor. Arts Commission, Stephanie Mole, new appointment, term to expire March 10th, 2029, 15 Ledgewood Hills Drive, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062. Citizens Advisory Commission, Jason Tlersky, reappointment, term to expire December 1st, 2028, 5 Shakespeare Road, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062. Oscar Vlasis, reappointment, term to expire December 1st, 2028, 76 GOV Avenue, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Conservation Commission, Richard Widhew, reappointment, term to expire December 31st, 2028, 23 Syracuse Road, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064. Ethics Review Committee, Adam Thompson, new appointment, term to expire February 10th, 2029, 30 Front Street, apartment 715, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064.
There being no objection, I'll accept the appointments by the mayor as read and refer them to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee. Without objection, I will suspend the rules to allow for an appointment that was received after the agenda was prepared.
Board of Health, Stephanie Ballantyne, MS, RN, APRN, FNP-BC, term to expire December 31st, 2027, 9 Bartlett Avenue, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03064.
There being no objection, I'll accept the appointment by the mayor as read and refer to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee. Reports of committees. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 30th, 2025 joint meeting of Committee on Infrastructure and the Board of Public Works be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the September 29th, 2025 Planning and Economic Development Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the October 1st, 2025 Finance Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the October 6th, 2025 Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee be accepted and placed on file. Confirmation of mayor's appointments?
None.
Unfinished business resolutions?
None.
Unfinished business ordinances?
None.
Business unfinished at previous meeting?
None.
New business resolutions?
First reading of R-26-008, renaming the Arlington Street Community Center as the Gloria Timmons Community Center.
Additional sponsors: Alderman Clemmons, Alderman Clee, Alderman Smith, Alderman Tebow, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Gregg, Alderman Dowd, Alderman Senate, and myself. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee.
First reading of R-26-009, relative to the acceptance of $80,790 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Exotic Species Program and to authorize the transfer of matching funds.
Additional sponsors: Alderman Clee, Alderman Tebow, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Senate, and myself. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Human Affairs Committee. New business ordinances.
None.
Period for general public comment. We have two individuals who have signed up tonight. Bob Keating.
Good evening, Bob Keating, 5 Coburn Woods Drive in Asher. When I was growing up a couple of decades ago now, maybe even a little more, there was a theme, talking till you were blue in the face. It was an expression that had an impact on me. It meant useless talk over and over with no positive results. In fact, you turned blue. For no amount of talking was going to solve the problem. Something else was needed. Unfortunately, in our community, some 38 years after our affordable housing report was released and 21 years after our A Home for Everyone plan was released to end homelessness, that we still have a significant problem with people being homeless in our community. Doesn't mean there hasn't been positive change. That have, and you've heard me speak about it and many other people over the years, but the fact of the matter is that it may actually be getting worse, and as you've heard, the federal government may be significantly shifting the money that houses folks that are homeless. So there has been, I would suggest, like my growing up years, some talking that has not resulted in positive changes. And we know being homeless is not a good thing. This weather certainly just brings that home, but it is life-threatening. Since I last spoke to you, I know a man who had a wonderful sense of humor. Much of the latter part of his, a couple of months, he was concerned about an accident that he had, that a dog got hurt that was fine. But he died. He had been working, in the defense contracting business, and he was homeless. Another woman that the community worked very hard, got her into housing. And just last week, I heard that because of her health concerns, she had to be moved to another, more intensive health care unit. Another person, 40s, ended up with overdosing, and but fortunately, Narcan was administered, so she's got help. The basic messages we've spoken about, millions of dollars that are being spent. We need to devote more direct monies to
30 seconds.
Permanent housing. And $800, you've heard that figure before. The $100,000 that we talked about, the mural, that's 10 people that could be housed. $1 million could house 100 people. So I hope that as you deliver it on the capital budget and you think about the operating budget, that more money is directed there. It saves money and it saves lives. So thank you very much. And in 2 seconds, I appreciate very much Gloria Timmons being nominated for the renaming of that place. And congratulations, President Wilshire, too, for...
Thank you, Mr. Keating. Appreciate it. Bill Ferriero?
My name is Bill Ferriero. My home is number 35, Indian Rock Road. So last month, there was a public hearing that talked about the 2025 budget surplus and some of the things that the city wanted to do with that money. And at that meeting, I asked the mayor why the surplus was so high, why the 2025 budget surplus was so high. And he said a bunch of stuff. And one of the things he said was that the automobile registration actuals were much higher than planned for 2025. So I didn't understand that, because that sounds like something that would be simple to plan accurately. But so I went back and looked at that, and sure enough, the mayor was right. The plan for 2025 automobile registration was $12.4 million. The actuals were $16.7 million. That's a big difference. And I couldn't understand why it couldn't be planned more accurately than that. So the next thing I did was looked at the 2026 budget, expecting that it would be corrected to more accurately reflect previous actuals. But it wasn't. It's still at $12.4 million. And I looked at the minutes from the budget review where that budget, that portion of the budget was presented to the aldermen. And sure enough, the CFO actually spoke to that specific line. She talked about the plan for the automobile registration fees. And this is what she said. So I'm reading this directly from the minutes. She said, you never know what you're going to get for that line. And she said it's a moving target. Moving target. So I didn't understand the moving target. So I went back and looked at the budget for 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 4 years, looking for the moving target. Each one of those years, the plan was $11 million. 11, 11, 11, 11. The plan, which was supposedly the moving target, 16.1, the actuals, 16, 15, 15, 15, 16. That's not a moving target. That's a stationary target. That's a trend. Every year, the last 5 years, the actuals for the automobile registration have been like $5 million more than the plan. How is that possible? How is it possible that the aldermen that do the line-by-line review, every single line, do a scrutiny of every line in the budget, can be off by $5 million? That's a lot of money. And how is it possible that every year the mayor tells us, well, there's no way to reduce the tax rate without cutting fire, cutting police, cutting teachers? No, that's not right, sir. We could have more police. We could have more police and a lower tax rate. We could have more firemen if you budget it accurately instead of making stuff up and talking about moving targets. It's not a moving target. This is not, we don't know what we're going to get. If you budget accurately, you can have more of everything. Thank you.
That concludes public comment. Remarks by members of the board. I'm going to start over here with you, Alderman Lopez.
I don't know what to say. I finally get the first word. Well, I guess I'll just thank DPW for all the work they've been doing for removing the snow. I will thank Mr. Keating for coming up and bringing the attention to the struggle of the people who were unsheltered during that blizzard. It was rough for us because we have to move around snowbanks and shovel our driveways. Imagine people who had to move from Elm Street over to the soup kitchen and then back to Elm Street through this giant Pac-Man maze of snowbanks. It's pretty rough, and we do need to do more as a city in concrete ways to make sure we don't have so many people moving as a herd up and down the streets and when, DPW is trying to plow and clear. We had a tragedy happen in our state just a couple of days ago where a couple were backed into by a plow, and people who are unsheltered are very vulnerable to that. And I would hate to hear of more tragedies just because we aren't doing enough to make sure that they're at least given an emergency place to stay for the duration of the storm instead of parts of it.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes, thank you. I would like to also thank Mr. Keating for coming out and giving us an update about the homelessness in the city. It is a hard thing, especially during these times of the frigid weather, which they say we might get another storm coming in. And it's sad. I think this is something, and I've said for a while, this is just a Nashua problem. When we move them along, they go into other communities, and then they come back. And I think this is Nashua and other communities that really need to work together. So we're not just pushing them from Hudson to Nashua and back and forth. I know we have a resource center supposedly on the horizon sometime, but I said that we need to have a business plan with that. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Farrow because, we were always told that when I was on the board the last time about you can't predict what you're going to get in auto revenue. You can have up years and down years, but I guess we're having some pretty good years here. Everybody's going out and getting that brand new car and leasing it, so we're making some money here. But I want to say to everybody, please stay warm and take care of yourself. Be safe. Thank you.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to reiterate the thanks and commendation to the Department of Public Works for their handling of this storm. And I think given the volume of the snow, it was really impressive to go out the next morning. Well, I had a lot in my driveway. I didn't have ice blocks at the end of my driveway, and even my little dead-end road seemed pretty nice and clear, which is not always the case. And, I get it. We're not a priority. We're a block away from my priority, so that was nice to see. I do want to note for anybody who may be listening at home, just as a friendly reminder, because we had a bit of an issue with it in Crown Hill. It is a violation to take that snow, as much of it might be, in your driveway and to put it in the city streets. That's a violation whether you're doing it at your own private residence or you're contracting somebody to do it for you. It's not legal, and if you are caught doing that could be a citation, I believe. So please don't do it. It's created quite a mess in one section of the neighborhood, and now DPW has to go back on top of their full plate and do some more cleanup, which nobody's happy about, and certainly not the people there that are navigating a one-lane road that's supposed to be two right now. So as you're clearing the roads, I'm not saying you got to go out and clear everybody's driveway on your street, but try to take care of each other anyway. That's all I've got.
Alderman Morgan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to echo what my colleague said. Thank you to DPW for all of their hard work and hours, not just on the roads, but on the sidewalks as well. And to the soup kitchen, the library, and the warming station for all of the extra work that they did for our community. But the biggest thing I want to say thank you to is all of our citizens who checked in on each other, who raised their hand, went over, shoveled driveways, and just helped each other out. That is really what we're all about, and I think we really shined in this storm. Thank you.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, congratulations on being the longest of all time serving here. Also, thanks to the DPW. I mean, one of the biggest testament to the fact that they did a good job is I didn't get one complaint. So if I don't hear from any constituent, that means they must have done a pretty good job. So I hope that doesn't open up a bunch of complaints when I get home. But, they did a great job, and especially since they had to come out during the Patriots game. And I can't imagine having to go work and miss that game. So thank you for that. Also, thank you to the people that voted for the mural. It's good to have art in the city, and I understand why some people voted against it, so I don't fault them for that. And I appreciate their words because they care for the city too, so I don't have any gripe about that, but I want to thank the people that did support it. Also, I just wanted to say sorry to Director Cummings. I know that he spends so much time here that he's basically a city resident, so I just want to say that. I said earlier he wasn't one, which he isn't, but sorry anyway. And then lastly, it's Holocaust Remembrance Day, and having a father-in-law who was in the camps, he has since passed a few years back, but it is an important day in the Jewish heritage, and we don't want to ever see that come back in any way, shape, or form. So I just wanted to throw that out there and make sure that people keep that in people's minds. So thank you.
Alderwoman Smith.
I just wanted to thank my fellow aldermen. I really appreciated the discussion and questions regarding the funds that were being put towards the mural. Not that we don't want the mural, but I really appreciate some of the challenge about how much things are costing. I know a lot of our constituents are really concerned about how we spend funds and how we, even when funds are allotted or accounted to. I understand about the TIF, that money can't be moved for any place else, but for us to really think about as we're doing business here for the city, that we challenge ourselves around some of these budgetary issues, because it is a concern, and individuals are also concerned that based on how we're spending our money, we're showing what the city actual values. And for some individuals, the fact that we do have the issue around homeless, it's a very complex issue, but folks would like for us to spend some money on housing. Individuals would like us to spend money on education. Individuals want us to spend money on health care. So I just want to continue to challenge us as we are looking at and have opportunities to vote on expenses and budgetary matters, that we start to think about how do they represent the values of Nashua and our community and our citizens. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Clay.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to say congratulations to you as well. I acknowledged that at the inauguration, that you were our longest sitting alderman. And I'd also like to thank DPW. I truly did not get any complaints other than the typical complaints about the driveways having too much snow on it. And they can't do anything about it. And as a person who lives on the corner, I walked out to a 4.5-foot wall of snow at the end of my driveway, and there was no way I was getting anything through it, so I physically got on top of it and just paddled it away like a dog. It was, my sister-in-law said, "Is there any video?" And I said, "No." I said no, and then I was reminded, "Well, don't you have a ring?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yes." So I think I probably do have video of it. But I laughed the whole time, just being on top of it, and just like, it was the only way I could get through it, to get to the other side, literally to get to the other side of that wall. But DPW did a phenomenal job. I heard them out all night long throughout the city. I could hear them going down Manchester Street. I could hear them going down my street. I could hear them down some of the other side streets. I'd also like to thank Alderman Lopez and the mayor for bringing forward this legislation, this resolution to rename the Arlington Street Community Center. I know that meant a lot to a lot of people, as well as Alderwoman Timmons. I feel honored to be sitting in her seat. I sat in the seat before her, but I feel honored that I'm sitting in her seat, and I hope that we will do this in her honor. Since I've been elected to the board, we've lost 2 people that were sitting aldermen, and President McCarthy, as well as Alderwoman Timmons. most of you have lived through all that, too. It's hard. And I also want to say, for the next storm, those that leave their vehicles on the street will either be towed or snowed in. And when you leave your cars on the street and you pull away after they've been, the plows have passed, you leave a lot of snow there. I know sometimes there's no place you feel you can move your car, but do everything you can. Use a neighbor's driveway if you have to. Don't leave your vehicle on the street. It's very expensive for you if it gets towed. Thank you.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to, again, as many of my colleagues have said, thank the DPW for all of the work that they did during the storm. It was, a very tough one. And I also want to thank my neighbor who came over to my house and took a snowblower to my driveway and, gave me some relief, which was well appreciated. It's those kind of small things that we do for one another here in Nashua that make us one of the best places to live. It really is. We have a great community and a great city, and we look out for one another, and that's what makes Nashua a great place to live. And so I just wanted to thank him, and I want to also wish everybody well, because the next storm, I think, is coming this weekend, so
You already had enough.
be prepared.
There's no place to put it.
There is none.
You need Bill Nye, the science guy, to make it for me.
Committee announcements. Alderman Dowd.
Yes, everyone knows the Special Budget Review Committee and the public hearings were canceled on Monday, January 26th, due to the inclement weather, and they have been rescheduled to Thursday, February 12th, 2026, starting at 7 p.m. The agendas are still being tuned. We have a couple of presentations that have been moving around, and we will also have the regular budget meeting at the end of the month on the 23rd.
Alderman O'Brien.
There's going to be an infrastructure meeting February 4th to the new members of the committee. It's a joint meeting with the police commissioners. We got a building project that's currently going on there. We're going to have to buy some more nails to finish it up. So that's what this meeting will be about. So to the new people, you get to see what we do and what we build for the city. So please come. Thank you. And it's at 6 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber, February 4th.
Thank you. Ms. Graham?
I think that's been changed.
Yes.
When is it?
February 11th.
February 11th.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Madam President. This Thursday, we have a Pennachuck Special Water Committee meeting. It is primarily for the interview of the mayor's a person for the Board of Trustees with for Pennachuck Special Water. So for those on the committee, I hope that you'll remember, I think I've spoken to all of you. It is an important meeting, and that'll be the first. We don't have a lot of them, so you don't expect them to be on the calendar, but it's important that you show up, so thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that the Woodlawn Pinehurst Cemetery Joint Convention will be held on February 10th. They couldn't be here this evening, even though they were on the agenda. I also wanted to earlier this evening I went to the Police Commission meeting, and they were hoping to get all of the new aldermen to come over and learn what they're about, maybe do a ride-along with them. So if you want to reach out to Chief Rourke, they're happy to do that. In fact, they like doing it, so. Okay. Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the January 27th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Aldermen be adjourned by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Chuss.
Yes.
Alderwoman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Gregg,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Senate,
Yes.
Alderman Johnson,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Nay.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
We are adjourned at 8:50. Thank you, everyone. And thanks again for the recognition. I appreciate that.
Don't get used to it.